Well, mate, even by our standards, this is rushed. I finished work 9 minutes ago. How's things, Casey?
Yeah, not bad. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. Normally, I would come up with something for an intro, but there's no point. Episode 198. Before we'll probably briefly talk about the Accrington game in a bit, and then we'll get into the Forest game that matters. But the game was that long ago. It's been talked about enough. It was an FA Cup game. It was comfortable. Fine. The main thing for today, the transfer window has not closed. It has slammed shut. I believe that is how you have to say it for legal reasons. And my main question for you is, are you happy with our transfer window?
It's the best January transfer window we've had since
sliced bread.
I'm genuinely trying to think now in terms of other Januaries, but it's been a pretty solid one.
Well, I mean, the last time we actually spent any money in January, am I right? If you don't count Jean-Kevin Augustin, which for purposes of this, I'm not going to.
We still, to be fair, we still haven't spent any money in that January.
Yeah. Because we bought Robertson Forshaw in the same window, didn't we? And they will have been fined about sort of 6.5, 7 million in the Championship.
That'd be 2018.
Yeah. Bielsa came in summer 2018, didn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, January 2018, man. I think that is. Memory's no good, but this one has been a lot more active. Obviously, we've talked about most of them, but just since the last podcast, Diogo Monteiro has now signed, the young centre back from Servette, Portuguese Youth International. Weston McKennie has signed. It's loan with an option, but the option becomes mandatory if he plays 10 games and we stay up.
Huh.
So it's by the
pretty much mandatory.
It's basically if we stay up, because he's going to play, unless he breaks his leg, he's going to play 10 games. And it is Leeds, so you never know. But we'll talk about him the most first. I haven't actually got the figures in front of me, but it was something like 1.5 million for the loan fee, which is very reasonable. But then because you're delaying it, you have to pay more, and it's like 32 million or something. And I must admit, that sounds steep to me.
I don't know. Ultimately, I don't think we're saving all that much money if we signed him now. Like, I don't think it's like, 19 million if you take him now. Wait a few months. 32.
Yeah, and we can't afford the gamble. Like, we have to do it this way around, just money-wise, because we can't. If we'd have just signed him and then got relegated.
No, and quite a few people have said now it's quite nice that we're looking at our squad. We looked at this squad and we've kind of looked at positions and thought, right, we just need to get someone better in that position than what we have.
Yeah,
it's not just a bodies situation. It's some level of talent, and I think you've got that in Verba. I think you've got that in McKennie, and then I think you've got Rutter and Monteiro, who are probably future players, although Rutter will be sooner than that, obviously, with the fee.
Yeah, Rutter is a first-team player. He's just a young first-team player. Alex Venison messaging in saying, you didn't look at a left-back, though. We did. He's just playing centre-back.
Yeah, we played him at centre-back, but he's good.
Yeah, no, I think that as much as, obviously, because Click went out. Cody Drama went out on loan. And then
he won't be back.
I think Drama probably will be.
Well, he's probably got to pick some stuff up.
No, we'll bring him back in the summer with the idea of, right, this is your time, this is when we're going to let you break through, and then we won't give him a chance, and then he'll leave, because that's what we do. And then there's been a couple of other younger players going out on loan. Obviously, we talked about Gellert going to Sunderland on the last pod. But then on deadline day, and I think did it start to break the day before deadline day? It was quite late. But Diego Llorente has gone on loan to AS Roma. with a permanent option at, quote, at least £18 million, which is what we paid for him.
Oh, we'll send him out on loan so we can recoup some of those funds.
Yeah, I mean, we all thought that new contract was a really stupid thing to do, but one of the reasons was protecting his value, and it does appear to have sort of worked.
No, I think I said straight away because as much as people disagree with Victor Orta at times, I don't think we're stupid in as much as we've looked at a player who's hasn't started a league game since Brentford away and thought, well, give that guy a pay rise and keep him around for I don't think they're that daft. I think it was entirely a protect the asset move, and it has worked.
Yeah. So the squad
He'll be
certainly
brilliant in Serie A.
I mean, if anyone's going to be able to get him defending, you'd think it's Mourinho. But he also, you could see him getting his debut, doing a Cruyff turn on edge at box, getting subbed immediately and never playing again as well. I have no idea what to think with him, really. Again, Alex, Jose will turn him into a world-class CDM. I'd take that. We'd get the money or we'd get him back, and either way. So the squad definitely looks stronger. I think one of the things that's really pushed us on with the McKennie deal, what I've seen of Weston McKennie, I am not a huge fan. I don't think he's some world beater, but he's definitely, as much as I like Sam Greenwood, and I have said numerous times, if all football was how good are you at kicking the ball, and that's it, Sam Greenwood would be absolutely brilliant because he's a brilliant ball striker, his technique's outstanding, but he's just not really a centre mid, and it is noticeable when he's on the pitch.
Not.
Yeah, that has really moved up with McKennie coming in. Obviously, Montero's young. We'll see what happens with him. We'll judge him in a bit. The midfield's definitely got better. Ruta coming in means the forward line has definitely got better. Verber for Llorente. We haven't got much evidence, but you'd probably say that's an improvement on what you've seen so far.
Yeah, I also really like the way Verber rolls his sleeves up, plays in the long sleeve, but rolls it up to the elbow. It's a nice touch, is that?
Yeah. So you'd have to say that we've strengthened all the way through. There was a big worry at the end that we were going to undo some of that work by selling Jack Harrison to Leicester, which got close enough that he was doing his medical and was down at Leicester's training ground. But Leeds didn't sanction the deal in the end, which I think is a good decision. And it now sounds like he's signed a new contract.
Which is madness, considering how involved he's been this season. I know he's had a spell on the bench at times, but the idea that if we've got halfway through the season, thought this guy who has probably started at least half our games this season. You know what?
Marsch, I haven't fact-checked this, but I don't know why he'd lie about it. Marsch said in his press conference that Jack Harrison has played the most minutes for Leeds since he got the job.
So, I mean, certainly.
Probably other than Melier. I dare say Melier probably has more that he didn't include, but other than that.
Yeah. He's one of the few that's not really been out with any long-term injuries. I understand that he, when everyone is fit, probably drops down the pecking order when you're looking at Sinistera, Nonto, Somerville, him, Ruta.
There's a few, isn't there now?
There's a few not wingers. To me, it was just sort of alarming in that I thought it's an odd move to sell the person at the club now who is probably at Leeds anyways, the second or third highest goal scorer in the team.
Yeah.
Since we got promoted.
Yeah, I would have been. Obviously, they all have a price. I said the same on Twitter that they all have a price, and I think that one of the reasons that Leeds sent him down was they were like, "Look, this might happen, and it's going to be late in the window, so you need to be there if it's going to happen." But I think that the bid was 20 million, and Leeds sent him down there, but they were probably the whole time going, if you don't give us 30, it's not happening.
Mm.
And then it didn't. Like, I wouldn't have wanted us to sell him, but with 18 months left, if we'd have got like 30 million for him, I'd have probably had to say, okay, I understand that. I'd have rather we were selling him to someone who isn't also sort of down there. But I could have lived with, but if it had sold him for 20 million, I'd have been absolutely furious.
Yeah, because he's definitely scoring at Ellen Road as well, isn't he?
Yeah. No, he can't play at Ellen Road because it's against Leeds. Harvey Barnes will be playing in that position. But no, I'm really glad we're keeping him, and I'm really glad that it sounds like he is now going to sign a new deal.
Yeah, which I think we need to do. And much as I love him, if you get Nonto and Sinistera playing to anything like they should be, he probably is the third choice out of the wide tens or whatever they are at this point. But that's not to say he's not a brilliant option to bring off the bench. And I think he has looked good a couple of times recently coming off the bench and playing centrally as well. There is still an argument that you could look at him and turn him into a better left back than what we have at the moment.
I was going to mention that because we've also seen him play centre mid, and you would think maybe not this game, but with the arrival of Weston McKennie, you would think that 4-3-3 is going to be our main formation going forward. I've quite liked Harrison playing as sort of one of the three in centre mid. I think that's been all right. And obviously he can then play on the wing. And when you have a squad like ours, I still end up thinking, who would I trust more at left back, him or Firpo? And I do still probably think Jack Harrison, as much as Firpo has been much better the last couple of games.
We just...
I mean, in fairness, I've been saying I think long term he ends up a wing back. I've been saying that for about 3 years now. Which means I'm probably wrong at this point.
I certainly see the value in him being there. I have no idea with this 4-3-3 how you set up our front three.
Yeah,
like
fit.
There is sort of too many. I didn't even mention Brendan Aronson when I went through the wide 10 options,
which I think says a lot about his recent form.
Yeah, there's kind of 6 players on that list to play those two positions. Ruta, all right, it can be considered one of the striking options as well, but you've got 3 contending for that one position.
I'll tell you what, the amount of options you're making it sound like we've got, it's a good job Rodrigo's broken and out for 2 months, isn't it?
So this is what happens when I don't listen to press conferences.
This got released yesterday or the day before.
Well, I clearly missed that part. So
there was a rumor going around that he was injured for a few days, and it was obviously a real thing because there was specifically it's an ankle injury that he got against Accrington.
Why did we bring him on?
I know, and in fairness to Marsch, he did address that. And what I will say is, as much as, and it's not hindsight, the second he came on, everyone on Twitter said, why are you bringing him on in this situation at 3-0? Why? This seems silly. So it isn't hindsight. But the reason he gave was he wanted Bamford and Rodrigo to get used to playing up front together again, because he thought that was going to be a good forward line going forward. Which I still don't think he should have done it, but there was a logical reason for it, rather than what I thought it was at the time.
Played together before.
Yeah, I honestly thought that he'd done it because he likes Rodrigo being confident and he wanted to throw him on in a game where he thought he'd score. But his reasoning seems a little bit more just than that. You were saying how do we line up if it's a 4-3-3 when everyone's fit? As great as Rodrigo has been this season and as brilliant as goal scoring is, if everyone's fit, it does sort of have to be Bamford to make that work.
It was nice to see against Accrington, I think as Phil Hay described it, Pat Bamford doing Bamford things. It was really nice to see that, and it's something we've greatly missed. And just in terms of, without getting into the I don't fucking understand this system, it works better with Bamford than it does with Rodrigo. And Rodrigo is greatly improved this season, really, compared to last.
Well, this season he has. I think you could probably go as far as saying like he has had an objectively brilliant season. Like, not every game has been an outstanding performance, but in a side that is performing as ours is, to have that many goals, you can't really ask for much more than that.
No, he's very much done his part, and there is part of me thinking it must be quite nice as a striker for the last year to have spent all that time training as a striker and not training as a centre mid.
Yeah.
Like, as just going back to kind of the transfer business, you look at last, not summer just gone, summer before under Bielsa, where you now look and, all right, strictly speaking, we didn't have Alioski, but Firpo clearly wasn't an upgrade on that. Dan James came in, and whatever position you put him in, he was not an improvement on that position. And realistically, unless you are signing someone for the bench, like deliberately for the bench, or just someone to provide cover, if someone's not either the same level or better than the player in that position they're being bought for, you do sort of think, well, what's the point in having them?
Yeah,
ultimately,
if you want to build a squad, you have to improve the starting 11 and have the starting 11 player drop to the bench.
Like, yeah, we brought Dan James in, and Dan James was not a better striker than Rodrigo or Bamford. He was not a better winger than Rafinha or Jack Harrison. But he was £25 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money to spend on someone who didn't improve the team. So,
and also, well, it's not like probably right now, Luther probably doesn't improve the team right this second. But he's like just turned 20, and he's young, and he will probably get better. By the time we bought him, Dan James might have been 24 already.
Yeah.
And his biggest weapon is his pace, which wasn't going to get quicker.
No, and people had a year seeing him play for Scum, and you knew what he did. And I know how good Bielsa is, but that is a project that didn't work for him.
Yeah.
Was turning him into a striker. As good as he was against Aston Villa away, like long term, that didn't work. So it has been quite nice to see that we've signed, we've signed 4 players. Montero has come in as the 4th choice central defender, or 2nd choice for right-sided centre back.
To be honest, I'm not even sure he's that yet. I think he's basically a 21 at this point, and we'll see how it kicks on.
But most likely, it will be. I imagine going forward, not this weekend, but it'll be Koch and Verber as your central defensive partnership.
Based on what we've seen, you'd think so.
And then you've got Cooper as the backup at this point. And then if there's injuries, Strauch might move inside.
Yeah.
But that's his role, and then the one good thing about McKennie is if you look at the signings we made over the summer, there was a lot of doubt about signing players who don't have either the Premier League experience or really sort of any big match experience beyond European group stages. And now we've signed McKennie, who's has been at Juventus for a few years, so has been at the top end of the table in a competitive division and has played in the Champions League.
Yeah.
he sounds all right.
Yeah,
I like Adam Forshaw, but
yeah, I think he's one of the ones that is still out for this game. For this game.
It's the same injury because he wasn't out for long when this one first happened.
No. But most people were back. Like Adams is back, Somerville is back, Cooper is back. So it's nice. It's nice to have them on.
Stuart Dallas.
Stuart Dallas and Archie Gray are not, but are making progress.
Archie Gray's never going to play another
They're
game.
really, you know what? There isn't any point we've even talking about. We've talked about a couple of things from the Akizali game. The only thing that I really wanted to say was that, Harrison's first goal, really good goal. The Sinister one was good, but I really loved Firpo's goal.
I was so happy for him.
Yeah.
Because I don't, again, like with Jesse Marsch, I disagree with his playing style, but I have no issues with the man himself. And Junior Firpo is someone who has spent 18 months getting dog abuse, and I'm glad he finally had a nice moment.
Yeah.
Against a relegation-threatened League One team.
Yeah, and it was a lovely little scooped pass from Bamford. I'm because as a Leeds player, I'm going to say definitely. I'm only about 75% sure that that's what he meant to do. But it worked out perfect.
It got where it needed to be.
So yeah, we'll the main question, one of the things to say to you, Casey, before we get into the Forest game on Sunday, which is such a massive game, we really need a result here. Have you any idea who plays for Nottingham Forest right now?
Well, Andre Ayew does.
There's so many.
Lewis O'Brien must feel really hard done to at this point. Now he's no longer technically a Premier League registered player.
Yeah, and because in the end, last minute it changed and it was going to be Blackburn, but they didn't get the paperwork through in time. It's it's been a bit unlucky with that. But I mean, there's loads of them have bought in. But I mean, I'm not even sure which ones are just just January. But like they've signed Keylor Navas on loan.
I spoke to Alex
They're good because Dean Henderson got injured for what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I said is he out for a while? I've missed. I heard 4 to 6 weeks. It was it's an odd club. That must be a record for a Premier League team. Because I know, having been a Leeds fan, that we have used twice. We have used 54 players in a season. We have used a lot of players that first time round in the Championship.
Yeah, that was back when you were allowed to loan someone for 4 weeks and stuff.
Yeah, just bring anyone in whenever you like. It's fine.
Yeah,
just an obscene number of.
So they brought Chris Wood in as well,
That's a good signing.
It's not an exciting signing, but he's a good forward. And that because I don't know if he's injured or not, but that I never know how to pronounce his name. Sam
Surridge.
Awoniyi he's a weird player where he doesn't technically look up to much, but he's quite effective. And his movement's good and he gets into the right areas, but he's a bit hit and miss. Obviously, I was amazed when I saw Sam Surridge score a Premier League goal the other week because I never thought that would happen. They've got so many options, and I know that they came in with. I mean, if you believe Nottingham Forest fans, they came in with literally it was Gary Kelly and Kevin Blackwell. That's what they had coming into this season, if you believe them. But they are it's such a mishmash of all this, of all. I mean, how do you sign 30 players in a season?
Someone's first time playing Football Manager, isn't it?
Yeah. I really don't know how you sign.
This list is mad. As you go through it, January, all right, they've been restrained. They've only signed 5. I'll say that's 5 permanently as well.
Yeah. So
Scarpa,
that doesn't include
Danilo.
Wood. So that doesn't include Wood or Navas.
No, so they've got Scarpa, Danilo, Felipe, John Joe Shelby, and Andre Ayew.
Yeah, I mean the Andre Ayew one. I don't really think they needed him, but it is only a deal till the end of the season. There's not much risk in that. But I'm giving Shelby like a 3.5-year deal.
Yes, and he is 32.
Yeah,
30,
like that.
sorry.
He's you have to remember he looked 40 when he was 21.
But they also haven't sold anyone in this transfer window. There have been some go out on loan, but no one of real note as I'm looking here.
Yeah, I mean that Danilo, they've paid about 20 million for him, and he is meant to be good, but I don't, centre mid, but I don't really know what about him. From the early stages of him, that Scarpa, I did watch him in one of the games, and he did look quite good, and he cost sod all, I believe. Felipe from Atletico Madrid, I don't know if he's still any good. He used to be very good, like when he was playing every week for Atletico, but whether the reason he's been shipped out is because his legs have gone or something, I don't know. I have it's such a weird one because I don't even they've signed all these players, but I don't actually think they've signed bad players. I just don't know how you make that work. But as much as we can say, I don't know how you're going to make it work doing all of these changes, doing everything at once. I mean, they are 2 places and 3 points above us in the table.
Yeah, the hope is that the new signings re-unsettle the team.
Yeah, that's re-unsettle. It's horrible English, but yeah, it's right.
Yeah,
they were unsettled, and it took a while, and then they calmed down, started playing, and now they've just brought in another 5.
It's a double prefix.
Yeah,
for grammar fans out there. Oh, mind, they have some good players. I don't think a right lot to the team.
it's not amazing, but I think I think there's a decent number of good players in there. Like they've got Brennan Johnson. I think is a really good player. As if it's a small sample size, but that Scarpa, I like what I've seen. That Freuler in midfield, I like as well. Navas is a good goalkeeper. You wouldn't write home about the defence. Like it's probably going to be what Joe Worrell and Willy Bolly.
Yeah,
and that's. I mean, it's not great. It ain't terrible either, like, but it's not great.
I'm just looking here the results by round on Wikipedia. So at the end of game week 6, they were 19th. They were in the bottom 3 all the way up to game week 18, and then the last 3 they got up to 13th, which again speaks to how close it is at the bottom.
Yeah, it's been a recurring theme for years. This for most of the seasons where you're only a run of 3 wins away.
Like the top scorers are Wani and Brennan Johnson both have 4. Dennis Morgan Gibbs with 2. Lewis O'Brien has been cut from the squad with 1.
I forgot to mention that, but he's really good. Is he injured, Morgan Gibbs White?
The last I knew, he was battling a Rubik's Cube. This genuinely. Apparently, there's a video of him doing a Rubik's Cube, and then his girlfriend tweeted he goes at it he watches videos every day. He's still not completed it. But then I noticed Rubik's Cube. I'm guessing it's because of that. Rubik's Cube had paid for sponsorship at the City Ground. Paid for a hoarding. So
I've just checked. He is out for quotes a little while, which will be enough to take him out this weekend. Because he's, as much as they probably did overpay a little bit, he's young and English, so that's just going to happen. And he is a good player. I would have liked us to have got him at the time it was happening. We've since bought players that would have mean he wouldn't fit anymore, but Yeah, like, because I have no idea what they're going to play, I'm like just literally looking at predicted lineups that people have done. They've been playing a midfield diamond, and I'd assume they stick with that because the results recently have been decent. Which, if they do that, if they play a midfield diamond, I'd really like us to play like the 3 central midfielders. Even if you play them in an odd shape to combat it. Like if they're playing an out and out 10, I'd quite like Adams to be sort of on them all game.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the detailed league table. I thought they were quite low scoring at first, but they are because they've scored 3 goals away from home this season. But we've scored 11 for comparison. Like that's dreadful. Southampton have scored 8.
God, I didn't realise the goal difference was -19.
Who did they get tonked by?
They must have got tonked a couple of times, and I just don't remember.
Lost 6-0 to Man City. Lost 4-0 to Leicester.
That one's really bad.
5-0 to Arsenal. 3-0 to Scum.
Right. I'd say there's only the Leicester one there that I should have really remembered, because getting battered by Man City and Arsenal is fair enough. I'd say that I'm not really sure what to think of them. I suppose the main questions for us are, what formation will it be? Hull play right centre back because Robin Koch is suspended.
Montero. Straight in.
That'd be brave, wouldn't it?
Let's do it. I assume it's probably Verber and Cooper then, isn't it?
Yeah, I was at one point thinking that it would be Strauch on the right because he's probably got the best right foot, and then Verber and Firpo, and then he came out in the press conference and said Cooper's fit and fine. So now I think it will be Verber on the right, Cooper on the left, Strauch at left back.
Yeah.
Ayling over Christensen again, you would think.
Now, because of how crap he's been, does Mark Rocker get dropped? Because he's a terrible footballer.
He absolutely shouldn't, but if you ask Leeds fans, yeah, probably.
The only thing I think at this point is, does the added athleticism of McKennie push him out of the team? Like
I think it just pushes him into a 3 where you've got Adams and McKennie running around and Rocker being sort of the calm head that passes the ball.
I'm gonna say that entirely sums up our midfield this season. I'll go with that. There's some running around is going on, and less running by Mark Rocker, but some very well directed forward passes.
Like, I think if we play a 3, it'll give McKennie a lot of license to get forward, which in theory should suit him.
Because he's obviously in the interview with not his friend Tyler Adams, said he was happy playing as an 8 or playing as a double 6.
Yeah, and I'm sure that we will see a midfield 2 with Adams and McKennie at some point, but I definitely think that the best way is a 3. It's whether he goes to it in this game, because you don't know how much training they've had and all of that. I think. Do you think he'll start, or do you think he'll just be on the bench for this one and then probably start?
I could see him starting. It's a big sign to make.
3 or starting in a 3 or starting in a 2.
I think a 3 because he's tinkered with the idea over the last pretty much since the restart, hasn't he? But then we seem to just sort of revert to the 4-2-3-1. It sort of ends up being more with the double left of Gnonto and Harrison. But
the only reason I'm so sure that it'll be a 3 is because of Rodrigo's injury. Without Rodrigo's injury, I'd be a lot less sure because I'd be thinking it before, like basically 4-2-4.
And when Brendan Aronson starts on the right, who starts on the left?
Nonto. No, if it's a free in midfield, Nonto left, Bamford up front, and who gets the... Do you reckon Sinistera gets the nod?
No, I genuinely think it's Brendan
You think it's Aronson? Fair enough.
I was only half joking. It was nice to see Sinistera getting that Accrington game, because I think that's probably, as I'd said before, he probably needed minutes in the 21s, and if he's not going to get that, playing Accrington in the cup is probably about what he needed to get minutes and reps in. But I don't know if I'm convinced enough for him to be starting a Premier League game just yet.
Yeah, I'm struggling to figure out what we're going to play in the forward areas.
I am very confident that Luke Ayling starts at right back.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident about that. Because like, you have to start Nonto. It's just where you start him. Like, does he play centrally and be almost in a front two with Bamford? And
I suppose that's it. Is if McKennie plays, it's just the two wide with a striker. If McKennie doesn't play, is it then Harrison, Nonto, Aronson?
Yeah.
Or
Harrison, Nonto, then Person on the right.
Aronson.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's one of the ones where I'm really not sure what we're going to do. I'm really not sure what they're going to do. So it's going to be an incredibly...
It's a chaos ball.
I've really no idea what to think. And I'm just... I know that some of the predictions are out there and it's heart over head and stuff, but I don't have anything heart or head. I just have no clue what this is going to be. So I'm just going to say 1-1.
How have they done at home? 1-4, drawn 3, lost 3. Very similar to us. No, bollocks to it. We win. We win 2-0.
2-0 win for KC. And I haven't even looked at the price yet, but I think I'm just going to go Bamford first goal from that. Yeah.
I'd clearly not really paid much attention to this, and we've won one away game all season.
Yeah, and it was at Anfield.
Yeah, and we've only drawn 2.
Yeah, we drew at Southampton when we were 2-0 up, and Newcastle when we shithoused to 0-0.
In terms of goals scored away from home, so we've got 11. The only team between Chelsea and Southampton who scored more than us away from home is Leicester with 17.
Yeah. Well, we know what end the problem's at. Like, we've scored enough goals to be 10th, and be absolutely comfortable. It's just that we've conceded loads as well.
Yeah, like in terms of just if you did the league table as just away fixtures. Now, admittedly, we have a game in hand.
Luckily, it's an easy one at Old Trafford.
Well, technically, by this table, no, because Scum have played 11. So our game in hand in this is elsewhere. It is Nottingham Forest. But we would be second bottom.
Yeah.
It's these are the games now, like you say, that we really need to win these.
Yeah. I suppose
and we will.
And we need to, because we haven't got long for this to turn around. And given the amount of backing that he has now had in the transfer market, there is no excuses. There is no such thing as, too good a squad to get... Of course you can. But when you look at our squad on paper now, it is not a squad that should get relegated.
No.
So if we do, it's a failure. It's not like as much as, when the team first comes up and you're looking at the squad and like, this is basically the championship side and you don't know if they're going to be good enough. It's no longer that.
No, and
It needs to improve, and it needs to improve now.
the worrying thing is, if we don't win this, then you go into the double-header with Scum, and if you've lost 3 league games in a row, and potentially in those 2 games, quite possibly heavily, it puts a lot of pressure on that Everton game.
Yeah,
that follows
that's
that.
and as much as it was very funny that Frank Lampard got sacked and everything. Basically, it's not going to be facing that Everton side anymore. It's going to be facing a much more organised, much cleverer Everton side.
The only saving grace from that is that Everton didn't really strengthen.
But Everton didn't sign anyone, did they?
They strengthened in hiring Deitch.
But I will say that's a better thing than they could have done in terms of buying any footballer. Not because Sean Dyche is so good. He is good, but he's not so good. But Lampard is that bad.
What happens to Connor Cody now? Because he can't play in a back four.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming James Tarkowski is immediately captain.
Yes. He'll be brilliant.
Yeah, and I mean, he'll like Mina. Big, strong, aggressive shithouse.
Yeah.
And he can also play a bit. He can play ball out. So it'll be no, that'll be there too, I would think. But yeah, hopefully. Did you pick a bet out, mate? I said Bamford first goal.
I haven't, and I'm literally just searching for one now.
Yeah, but I am at the minute. I'm just a bit worried about the game. On Sunday, I'm going to be in bits about this game, I think, because the other thing to factor in is I really fucking hate Forest. I've been reading on Twitter all week about Leeds fans going, "We don't have a rivalry with Forest," and you know what? They're probably right. Leeds don't, but I fucking do. I hate them. I really do. I didn't realise how much I hated them until they were playing Scum in League Cup semi-final, and Scum scored, and I was like, "All right, it's fine." Turns out that I hate them pretty much as I hate Man United.
Where's
Brian?
Basically, Christ, where's Willie?
Yeah.
That's an adult book, I imagine. Willie Nonto,
that's definitely been done.
Yeah. Willie Nonto, first goal, 8-1.
Oh. Yeah, the only other things that we didn't say really is the youth team is through in the cup. They have Oxford in the next round, but if they win that, they're probably going to have to face Man City away. So that's where it ends.
I'd like to be more confident, but
no, I mean that's just probably what's going to happen. The women got battered 9-0 by Arsenal in the Women's FA Cup, but that's perfectly reasonable. Arsenal were literally 1 to 1,000 to win that game.
Yeah, I actually got to. I've actually met a couple of the women's team through work recently, and so it was pretty much summed up by, when you go on Twitter seeing players go, "Oh, I can't wait to meet Leah Williamson," like that. We are Histon in this context.
No, this is a much bigger difference from that. Leeds weren't 1 to 1,000 to beat Histon. like 1 to 1,000 is Leeds United versus Kippocks under 10s.
You are talking about it. Literally one of the best paid professional women's teams in the world against amateurs.
Yeah, and 2 days later they had a world record transfer bid rejected. That's the level of difference we're talking.
Yeah.
And the only other thing is that the Sunderland or Fulham game in the 5th round of the FA Cup has been picked for TV. It's on BBC. It's still Tuesday night though. And am I right in thinking that there's no replays now? Because they changed the rules a couple of years ago, didn't they? 5th round onwards. It's just we're never there, so I'd forgot about it.
I had forgotten about that, but this is probably also because we've never had to worry about this.
Yeah. We'll see going forward.
Google FA Cup replays.
Yeah, the Forest game is going to be a big one, and I'm really worried about that game. But I'm after the window. I did go into this window thinking we'll just stay up. We'll stay up. We'll just be okay. And I am now given the window, I am now more confident than I was going into it, and that's probably a good sign. But I'm certainly not any more than about 65% confident that we'll stay up.
Yeah, we've the thing you can say is I think we've given ourselves the best possible chance of staying up. Like it's
in terms of transfers, not in terms of performances on the pitch.
No, I'm trying to go a whole podcast without talking about his tactics and bemoaning them. But yeah, in terms of transfer activity, I think we've, you've got to say we've had a good window.
Yeah. So yeah, we will be back after the Forest game. I don't know which day. Work should be less mental next week, so should be able to get one done early in the week, I think. But that will do us for episode 198 at My Wax Podcast. I've been Jack. See ya.
I've been Casey. Have a good one.
In a bit.